Good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark,
And I'm Zoe.
and we are the Board Adventurers. Back to you with another fresh off the shelf. We're coming in with one of the games that I had bought when we were out in Korea. This is the 2 to 5 player game, Orapa Mine, designed by Jung-hee Choi and Won-jin Gil. I apologize if I mispronounce your names. And published by Platy. Again, I apologize if I botched that name. So in Orapa Mine, which is based on the diamond mine in Botswana, there's a 2 player variant, and then there's also a game that lets you play 1 player creating a puzzle and up to 5 players solving that puzzle. So I'll go generally into how each of them goes. But the setup is basically the same. So each player is going to get one of these boards. You're going to get a bunch of different shape, squares, triangles, and a little parallelogram. You're going to set them up based on the orientation of the square grid line. So let's say, for example, I have this and I place the red. That square on the red has to fit fully into a square on that grid. In a 2-player game, each person is going to get one of these, and you're going to be playing in a sense a battleship type of game where you're trying to locate all of the shapes that you have in there. So on your turn, you're going to do you can ask one of 2 questions. You're going to have a little screen. So again, your screen's going to be covering up your layout from your opponent's layout. You can then ask on your turn 1 question. And you're going to ask, where do you shoot your radar into? So you're going to see on the grids and on the top here there are letters and numbers. You're gonna say where you're going to shoot your radar into, and then you're going to ask either the color or the number of times it bounces. Your opponent is then going to look at their grid, and they're going to see where that comes out. So you'll notice that these triangles and these squares have different shapes. So the whole idea is that the angle of it will bounce. So let's say, for example, I have a C. And this is at the very end there. If it comes into C here, it bounces off this white and comes up directly into 1. So the answer for, if I asked for C, is it comes out at 1, and it's either white as the color that comes out, or 1 as the amount of times that it bounces. You'll notice that there are different colors in this game too. So this is where it kind of gets more intriguing, is that if you were to bounce it off of a color, you then say that color is different. So let's say, again, I have C. I ask for C, and there's a blue gem there, right there. When it bounces out at 1, your opponent will say it comes out at 1, but the color is blue. What complicates things is when you start bouncing off of multiple gems. So there's an idea that you can create multiple bounces based on the orientation of your gems. When you bounce off of blue and red, you're going to create violet. When you bounce off of blue and yellow, you're going to get green. And when you bounce off red and yellow, you're going to get orange. White complicates things. Oh, actually, going back to it, if you somehow can bounce off all 3 gems in one shot, the color is going to end up being black. So just note that that's the color that would be announced. If white is included in that multi-bounce, it gets slightly more complicated because you're going to have different shapes and different colors. So when you have white with just 1 base color, so let's say, again, I have any of these 3 bases and white. So red and white are going to create for you pink. Blue and white are going to create for you sky blue. And yellow and white are going to create for you lemon yellow. When you have multiple colors, say you have 2 colors and you're bouncing off of white, those 2 colors are going to be that combination, and white will just be disregarded. So you're going to have, say, red and yellow create orange, but then when it bounces off of white, it's still going to be orange. It doesn't change that hue in any way. You're going to fill out a sheet, and you're going to try to figure out where all of the shapes are, either on your opponent's or in a 3 to 5 player game what the person that created the puzzle has their orientation. You're going to submit it to your opponent or the person checking, and if it's correct, then you win the game. If not, then you're just eliminated for that round, and the game will just progress until either someone figures it out, or no one can solve it. With that said, that is Orapa Mine. What do you think?
Yeah, so Orapa Mine is a game that you brought back and wanted to introduce to me. Had a couple playthroughs, and I really enjoy it. I generally like deduction style games just in general, so this was up my alley, and this definitely gave me cryptid vibes, but more of a battler as opposed to a race to find out first.
Right.
It adds the battleship aspect of we both trying to figure out what each other has, and it's a race that way, which I really do enjoy.
Yeah.
It's not as much as a brain buster as Cryptid, but it's up there. It definitely gives the same vibes as like you trying to keep track of a lot of information, because as it goes through, you're gonna realize there's a ton of information that's there, and you have to keep track of all of that to win this game or kind of play through it based off of where you think the colors are, the number of shapes and all that. And that part I really enjoy.
Right.
What do you think first before I get into the cons?
So I enjoyed this game. So I think we played it at the 2-player count, and then one where one of us was the creator, and there were multi-guessers. I definitely do prefer it at the 2. The 2-player is a little bit more like you're always involved while you're playing, as opposed to if you have 5 guessers, the person that creates the puzzle is really just a checker. They're not really part of the game, and everyone else, you're just waiting for someone to take their turn. But the 2-player game is very solid. I definitely get that battleship vibe. It's like I want to shoot it into, say, 14. And then like one of the beauties of it is that when you say 14 and suddenly it says it comes out at P, but it bounces 3 times, you look in like awe, like how does that bounce 3 times? Like where are the shapes that could be that create that 3 bounce? Then it becomes, okay, I need to figure out what color this is now. So those are really like the cool things about this game, and it's a really short game. You can finish this in about less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, one of the cons I have for it is really just the downtime between turns. If I'm comparing it to Cryptid, and I don't want to keep doing that, but if I'm comparing it to Cryptid has the rule where you can't write down information that you get. The reason for that being is that if you spend a lot of time writing down information, someone's gonna take a turn. It's gonna be like minutes of just consulting what you have.
Right.
Orapa Mine doesn't have that rule that you can't write down information. So if you're playing it that way, there's going to be a lot of downtime between turns.
Yeah. One of the big things too is that the sheet that you're given doesn't really give you really a lot of space to write down any notes. So you kind of have to like either like minimize your text by a lot, or just paraphrase a lot of it onto your sheet.
But the game is short enough that it's not going to be that bothersome, because you'll be done with, even if you're writing down notes, you'll be done with it within 30 minutes. It just adds like 10, 15 minutes to the game. But that's really my main con for it. Do you have any cons for this?
No, not really. I mean, it kind of feels like one of those weeknight games. You can just pull it out, maybe like you're just finished with dinner, but you don't want, a brain burning game. This would be one of those simple games you could just play, even like with a family. I would think you could just like maybe a kid, maybe like age, maybe 8 or higher, might be able to pause it out to some extent, because it's just like colors and where it kind of bounces, so it's kind of drawing lines. But like I enjoy it enough. I'm just worried how if I would ever it would turn old by like after a certain amount of plays, because then you start to game it out. You're like, oh, I know then if this comes out this way, it can only be one of like 2 combinations.
Yeah, that's true. You can't game it out, but you could add some variant to it by just adding in different shapes and colors each game.
That's true. Yeah, so you actually add in another black there are black things that we haven't played with.
Mhm.
That will also add in more variability, so you can then have more color variants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the one thing the game does need, play aids.
Oh, right. No,
I
I feel
think
like the
so.
color.
Just for the color, and some of it is common sense.
Yeah,
But just like your mind is going to be so warped in different things, you're not going to be thinking of it that
that's
way.
fair.
And there's a lot of times where we're just kind of people pick up the rule book. It's like, what does this come out to again?
Yeah, because like I think for white and yellow it comes out to lemon yellow. And
Yeah.
I've never really heard the term for that color.
Mhm.
I also don't know what a light yellow would really be called.
Yeah.
But like I get it, like just like a color chart maybe for
Color
each player
chart.
just to
Yeah.
confirm it. And I wouldn't
Yeah.
be too hard. It's like a small card.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say so. Because with deduction style games, if someone makes a mistake like that, then the game is kind of ruined a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, and then one thing with like multiplayer too is that the multiplayer you're sort of allowed to fiddle with the other shapes, and you're trying to see if they fit into your board. It would kind of be nice if you had just a little, like maybe a double of the shape, so that because what we learned from our group was that they were trying to fit shapes into their grid just to confirm the size of them.
Mm.
And like we were passing these pieces around a lot, and it doesn't necessarily stay in the rulebook. You can't do that, but also like if you add in another set, it actually would then it wouldn't really need another set. So,
Yeah.
but it was something we want to have, but it wouldn't make sense in the game.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you.
Mhm.
In terms of a review score, where are you for this?
This is a very solid game. When I saw it, and I think I had seen a review it online, I think from like Dice Tower, that made me put it on my radar. And then when I saw it in Korea, I immediately thought, okay, I should probably get this here.
Yeah.
So I'm coming in at a 4. This could maybe rise up to 4.5, or it could even go down to a 3.5 if I play it that much more.
Yeah.
But it's right now sitting at 4, and it's pretty comfortable at 4.
Nice.
What do you think?
I'm similar to you. I was teetering the line between 3.5 and 4. I think I'm solidly at a 4. There are some like stuff like I wish it was like a player aid. I know the game wants to be more like 2 to 5, 2 to 6. I think this really feels like a 2-player game. That's another thing too. But the gameplay is very solid. It's a great deduction game. It's a great 2-player deduction game if you play it that way. It's fun going through the battleship aspect of the game of like getting information and going like, how does that make sense, and trying to deduce that and make it make sense to you. That's also fun. It's just it really worked for me. It was a good surprise for me. So coming in at a 4.
Oh, nice, cool. That is our review of Orapa Mine. Let us know if you guys have it. I don't know if the States honestly has access to this game yet.
Oh.
But if they do, let us know. We are the Board Adventurers. I'm Mark.
And I'm Zoe.
We'll see you on the next adventure. Over.